Coming at you live from the Cosasverdes studio during a private community live chat. I'm recording this for public YouTube because I want to show you a line that you will not see anywhere else on the interwebs. And this line is what I call a super macro mega line that has only been touched by Bitcoin when Bitcoin went above it at $14 way back in the day, 2013. And then this bear market when Bitcoin came down through 20K on its way to 15.5. The only two times that line has been interacted with in recent history or in history. And I want you to know what this line is, because what it's going to do for you is it will show you, is Bitcoin's bull cycle target going to be 200K area, or is it going to be closer to a 500,000? And you will see in this video why. Not necessarily much between those two targets, but those two targets in general, if this is close to a 4-year cycle with a Bitcoin bull run, then you will see very clearly why those are my two targets without a ton of room for in between. I will show you the in between cases and why they exist, but I really think that this line that I'm pointing here, I think it's going to help guide you in your altcoin decisions drastically. If you just follow with me here, and I'll show you how to draw it on your own chart, so it doesn't have to be look as fancy as what I got it here. I'll show you how to draw it more locally to help guide yourself in your altcoin plays. So with no further ado, let's go get that Bitcoin. Make sure you put the bong down before we go get some Bitcoin. You ready? All right. Here we go. So here is why I'm going to zoom right in here. Here's the 15.5 low down here. Here's where Bitcoin raced up to 48K, got rejected. Raced up to 32K, got rejected. Went up to 74, went above, came back below, racing up to this line once again. If there is a 4-year cycle, that is roughly where this vertical line is, roughly November of 2025. That line, at that moment, if it's roughly a 4-year cycle, is right at 200K. One case for in between, one of the most common ways on any time frame, whether that's the 5-minute chart or the weekly chart, one of the most common ways to get rejected by some type of line or an EMA, whether it's horizontal or rising or falling, doesn't matter. If price is below it, going up to it, no matter the shape, one of the most common ways to get rejected is technically a failure rejection pattern. So that would set you up in between for somewhere closer to 250K. Maybe as high as 300K, but more likely 250K for an in-between case, because that is probably it is definitely a top 3. It might be the second most common way to get a rejection at a point is to go above it, go below it, then get rejected by it. Failure rejection pattern. The top part's a failure because it went above, could not stay, so it failed the line, then a pure on rejection. And if you want to see it a little bit more cleanly drawn, something like this. Above it, below it, rejection, boom. Okay, that'd be roughly 250K. That's your in-between situation. However, the reason why these weirdos talking about a $500,000 Bitcoin, I think there is a darn good shot that Bitcoin does this. If it might be my second favorite target for Bitcoin, because check this out. This blue line, which I'm calling the point of control, the middle, the half-court line, the middle of the soccer field, it was the macro support. Bull market, bear market, bull market, bear market. Bull market, the most recent bear market, finally went below it and went below the next line that we're talking about. So previous support becomes future, finish the sentence, resistance. But the more you interacted with previous support and the higher term timeframes you dealt with it, which is macro, like super macro chart, and a very, very long time relative for Bitcoin. I mean, 3,000 days. I mean, no, playing in there for like almost 3,500 days. So extremely long time, the most macro possible. that means Bitcoin technically should go up and touch that line. If it both touches that line and it's near the end of the 4-year cycle, as opposed to going parabolic first, then going sideways for 200 days, then barely taking out its high, something like that, and actually not hitting the line the second time, but barely taking it, like a double top side, kind of like the 64, 69K top. So if it hits it early, yeah, it would hit the line and only be 300K and maybe hit 300K once again after 200 days of down and sideways, double top. That's possible. But if it's a 4-year cycle, and if Bitcoin rises up to the challenge at the end of the 4-year cycle, guess what that number is? So remember, this vertical line is the timeline of the 4-year cycle, the end of November of 2025. You can see down here where my cursor is, that says November 22nd, wrong way. There you go. You can see that right next to me. Wrong way. This way. Boop. Right there. All right. So that's your 4-year line. If Bitcoin goes up at the end, like it normally does, that's $500,000. And so remember, previous support equals future resistance. It should touch that line. It really should. So I think for this reason, if I'm wrong and this line is not hit, then I think 200K is bare minimum for Bitcoin. Bare minimum. However, I can see 2 reasons to have in between, different thought. Related but different thought. So I really think 500K and 200K, not much room for in between, but here's the second way that you could get in between. So failure rejection pattern would be 250K, but also if it goes up and hits this line first, then has a 200-day double top, okay? So those are the 2 ways you can find some in between, but either way, it's all about this line and that line, I'm telling you. So at any point, if Bitcoin is above this line, then I'm going to show you how to draw more locally here from the 15.5 low. If it's above it, that means Bitcoin is on pace to hit $500,000. I'm telling you. So this is your pace line. And this will help you kind of understand what your altcoin plays, help guide your altcoin plays. Because if Bitcoin's going to be like stuck at 200K, you might want to take profits more quickly in a bull run if Bitcoin's below that line up there. But if Bitcoin's above that line and we're within the 4-year cycle, you might choose or be guided into allowing your alts to run a little bit more and be less aggressive with selling. So that is how I'm personally going to use this line. How the hell do we draw it? Here we go. Let's zoom into a time frame that you have, probably the daily time frame, to take us all the way back to the 15.5 low. So I will go like this. Here we go. The point where Bitcoin hits it almost perfectly is right before the very last drop. If on the daily chart, you can zoom in here and make your line begin looking like this. So this drop here, so the wick of November 7th, 2022, that wick right there, that hits the line almost exactly. And also the line that almost hits it exactly is September 7th. But the downside wick of 2022. So those 2 points will get your line almost perfectly. And then what you can do is you can play with it a little bit later, but that's what she said. You can make a line, for example. Yours won't look like that yet. There we go. So your line will look like that. Just draw the line. And then once you get it where we're talking about, you can right click, hit settings, which you can't see. Can you see that? Yeah, settings down here where my cursor is hovering. Boom, extend right line. Bam. Now it goes all the way to infinity. All right. But you'd want to try to put it where I told you. And then you would come out here and say, okay, is it also connecting close to the wick high of April 26th? Time to wake up from my nap. So April 26th of 2023, that upside wick there, as long as it's pretty close, then you got your line. And for the rest of the bull market, you're going to use it. Or use it as guidance. Not just use it as guidance on Bitcoin, because most of us are going to play altcoins instead of straight up Bitcoin. So, but this line and Bitcoin's relationship to it will help you know, oh crap, if we race up to the line, that means Bitcoin might want to pull back soon, right? Maybe. Might go above it, failure, rejection, might hit 105K, something like that. But if we're racing up to this line, the whole, since 15.5, you've just gotten rejected from it. It hasn't gotten above and stayed above yet. So it did race up. Like this is a parabolic looking move up to here. However, there is another target closer to 100K. So I strongly suggest you have that line on your chart. I think I showed you how to draw it and also how to use it in regard to expectations for a bull market, and which should help guide you with your altcoin plays. I really hope you find this line helpful, and I really hope you take the time to draw it and right click on the line and hit settings and do extend line right. I'm telling you, this could help you for over a year. It could be a huge difference in your performance, how much money you capture. Because if you're new to this, or it's your second or whatever, if it's going to be your first rodeo or second, you know that if it's your second, you know you didn't sell when you should have last bull run. You know you didn't. So this will help guide you. It will help guide you. It won't tell you when to sell, but it'll tell you, shit, is this bull market actually just getting heated up, or are we going to be trapped under this line the whole time, and then the 4-year cycle ends 200K, I might want to bail on some altcoins. Or if it's we're only halfway through the next year and we're bouncing on this line, shit, I need to plan for $500,000 Bitcoin, so on and so forth. For more immediate targets to the upside, not going into a super macro mega chart, but rather a 2-year chart, which encompasses the 15.5 low down here. And this is how, like, over a year of price history. This is 730 days of price history. So if this week, that macro mega line that I mentioned, if that's hit and that's the top of this move before a bullish pullback, that's going to be 95 and change. If, in fact, which honestly, this next one's my favorite target for the next 1 to 2 weeks. I think Bitcoin's going to pass 100K. I think it's going to try to attack that psychological number, then pull back. However, I am perfectly open to the idea of the super macro mega line getting it, because Bitcoin did race up to it. And there is a darn good chance it gets rejected and pulls back. Okay, so these are the 2 last targets before a pullback that I have. I do not see Bitcoin going much above 103K before a pullback. A failure pattern above would be close to 105. I don't see it going much above 103K before a significant pullback. Please know that. Like, make note on that. Therefore, on your altcoins, for newer viewers or whatever viewers who aren't a part of the community, something I've been driving into my private community, both on the private YouTube community, which you can check out with the blue button below, or the Discord community. The links to that are to see what it's like are in the description section of all my public videos. But something I've been driving really hard with a lot of my private community is the idea of Bitcoin dominance is in an uptrend right now. So if and when Bitcoin does correct, that means Bitcoin is stronger than alts on the way up. And if Bitcoin corrects while Bitcoin's stronger than alts, altcoins are going to get hurt real bad. Because as Bitcoin goes up, your altcoins aren't going up. Like today, Ethereum was down 2.6%. Bitcoin was up 2.6%. That's over a 5-point difference. Huge, right? So today's a perfect example of Bitcoin dominance going up, and your altcoins typically not going up with Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's going up and your altcoin's not, and then Bitcoin flies down to the previous daily higher low area, guess how low that is? Guess how low that is? $70,300. That would be over a 30% move on, or roughly a 30% move on Bitcoin from 100 to 70. And with Bitcoin dominance going up, do you know how much farther down your altcoins will go more than 30%? Like they could close to double that. The smaller the market capitalization of your altcoin. So if it's on page 5 of CoinMarketCap versus page 1, the deeper down the pages on CoinMarketCap you find your coin, the more closer to double the correction from relative to Bitcoin that your coins will have. If you're on page 1, particularly the top 50 coins, they might correct, 20%, not 20%. If Bitcoin corrects 30%, they might correct 35 to 40%. But the smaller your coin is, the more likely, the closer to 2x, 2 times the drawback your coin will have with Bitcoin. And that can be very, very deep. Very deep, 50 to 60% pullbacks, okay? So if Bitcoin raises up to 100, just realize I am personally anticipating it could take 3 months for it to play out. It could just slowly go down. It doesn't have to be a violent crash. But in general, your altcoins aren't going up right now very much for the most part, but Bitcoin is. When Bitcoin corrects, your alts are going to get hurt. So with that, that should help guide you. Am I 50% exposed into crypto right now? So I might not want to get 100% in until I see an initial pullback. And that is technically my personal game plan. I am 70% into crypto. 30% of my active crypto money is sidelined flat. I don't care if Bitcoin goes up to 120K first and I'm wrong. I'm fine. I'm still waiting for that last 30% in my situation. That doesn't have to be your ratio, but my sideline money, I'm simply waiting for a pullback because I know Bitcoin dominance is going up. My altcoins for the most part aren't. Some of them are, but most aren't. Therefore, when, not if, when Bitcoin corrects, it's going to be dirty. It's going to be bloody. Bad pictures coming to mind. Bloody. Anyway, it's going to be nasty. So please be prepared. And this is especially important for those of you, for most of us in crypto. If you are underexposed to the market, it kind of guides you into not chasing too much, right? Not to get sucked up into other YouTubers saying, oh, bull market, like it's $500 million tomorrow. No. Like this coin's going to 10x. Cardano is going to make you a millionaire. Those people. Like, we're going to have a big correction soon. Your altcoins are going to get screwed. So it's going to help guide you into that as well. But in addition, more long-term, that line that we went over at first, I promise you, when you're done with this video, public YouTube, please take the time to draw that line because it's going to help you for over a year, most likely. You just got Timified worldwide. Peace.